All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss for our Football Friday, which is now Football Saturday morning. I know I had it scheduled for 11:30, but I didn't realize when I made that schedule that my high school football opener today starts at 1 o'clock, not 2 o'clock like I originally thought. So for those of you who are probably waking up late, you're going to get this live stream probably on replay. But I want to get on here and discuss a couple of things. Some start sit options. Also give you my picks. Went 2-0 on Thursday night with the Lions, and the under the I took the Lions as a lean, and then I did the over under. I did the under on that game, which seemed very obvious to me, and that was my first official pick of the season. So 1-0 on the picks. Going into Sunday, I have a couple of other selections that I was looking at that I'm going to share with you guys today. Also, like I said, I want to go through the games and offer you some start-sit options and also the injury report because we got a big one late last night, which I did a separate video on, and that was the fact that the New York Giants have placed tight end Darren Waller as questionable, and this came out of nowhere. I mean, he wasn't on the injury report all week. He practiced all week, no problem, until Friday. Now, he did complete the practice on Friday and was able to do pretty much everything, but at a slower pace. So the thinking is that this could go right down to the wire. One of the local beat reporters said as much. So if you're a Darren Waller owner, like I am in both leagues, I have Dalton Kincaid, luckily, as the backup in one league, so I could just simply pivot to him as they play Monday night against the Jets. Or I could go Daniel Bellinger, who's the backup for the Giants, who's a fairly decent receiver, had a solid rookie season. I can go there as well. So, I could always do that as well. But, I mean, again, this is not what you want to see on the eve of the season, seeing Darren Waller already injured. So it seems like more par for the course for this guy. Good morning, Kevin. Amon-Ra looked good in the opener, so did Gibbs. Jared had Amon-Ra for a TB, didn't see him. Yeah, Amon-Ra was good. I discussed the game at length yesterday in the separate video. London Dotson at flex. I'm going London all the way. I think London's going to have a big game. That's good. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that game, that Carolina-Atlanta game. I would go Kevin. If you want to be safe and go Higbee, he's going to get a lot of targets, and they're going to be trailing in that game, so they're going to have to play catch up. And with Cooper Kupp out, I think it's actually a good play. I was the first guy I looked for to see if he was available in my leagues. Would you start Mostert? I would as a flex. Absolutely would start him as a flex. He's a very explosive runner. The matchup is solid. There's going to be a lot of points scored in that game. That's probably the best game of the slate on at least during the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock part of the schedule. Yeah, hamstrings. I don't know what these guys are doing, honestly. Do they drink water? I mean, do they know how to hydrate? It's getting ridiculous, all of these guys with these injuries already this season. But anyway, going to go through the quick injury report from Friday. We usually do this on Fridays, and I apologize for not being on yesterday. It's just been a crazy week. Definitely will be doing Football Friday next Friday, but just got behind on some things with the high school football season kicking off and everything else. Do you start Jaden Reed since Watson is out? When does go if Dobbs is out too? I guess you could give Reed a shot. It's not the Bears defense doesn't scare anybody. So I would, Aaron, it's not the worst idea in the world. So Jerry Jeudy listed as questionable. Listen, the fact that he practiced all week, I think is a good indication that he'll be back worst case scenario week 2. When it was looking like he could possibly go on IR when he was carted off in practice, just a couple of weeks ago. Do I start Dotson, Ayuk, Javonte Williams, PPR? Ayuk, that's who I would go with. Ramondre Stevenson, so he's got a stomach virus. So he's listed as questionable. And you know how these things go sometimes. It could sap his strength, dehydrate him as well. I mean, anybody who's had a stomach bug knows how miserable that is. I mean, it's bring a book into the bathroom, right? Or roll TV in there because you're going to be in there for a while. So, I think that we have to watch this. I think he'll give it a go. I can't imagine him missing the game on a stomach virus. He'll probably get crap in the locker room from it. Pardon the pun. Yeah, that one caught my attention. Odell Beckham's good to go with his ankle. Mark Andrews is questionable with the quad, so we're gonna have to check back on this one. There will be a live stream 11:30 Sunday morning, plus the regular game Sunday evening as well. This here to start with the cheat code. I don't think Taysom Hill is anything right now, Joe. I think that was kind of a novelty last year, but not this year. Yeah, the pattern of Ezekiel Elliott. And I'm not. Even if he's out, I would not even play Elliott. All right, Kenneth Walker not on the injury report, but it's just a reminder that the next injury is right around the corner for this guy. Mekhi Becton, the tackle, was sick for the Jets. And you wonder if COVID's starting to go around too, because a lot of guys were sick. They're not going to really test anymore because then they have to miss games mandatory wise. I think never heard of anybody going on the COVID list last year, so it's kind of just like under the table now. Because they don't want to lose these guys. George Kittle, questionable with a groin. He did more and more work as the week went on, so I'm feeling optimistic he's going to play. But again, we got to check back on that one. Treylon Burks, good to go with the knee. No issue for him. It looks like the Colts are going to have Zach Moss. Nobody cares. Let's see. Mike. Okay. So Mike Evans, so Zach Ertz and Hollywood Brown are both questionable. And that leads me into one of my first points. So Mike Evans wants a new contract. He's not going to get it. There's no reason for the Bucs to do this. He's 30 years old. It's just going to go down from here. However, and this applies to Hollywood Brown as well, who's a free agent at the end of the season. With Arizona having no reason to even play Hollywood Brown because they're tanking for Caleb Williams, why not, entertain trade talks from everybody, especially the Kansas City Chiefs? Anybody who watched that game, it was a beyond horror show with the Kansas City wideouts, other than Rashee Rice, who acquitted himself well in his debut. Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore shouldn't even be owned right now after that beyond pathetic performance. But Mike Evans and Hollywood Brown, I think, are very intriguing names we need to keep an eye on in terms of the trade deadline. The Kansas City Chiefs, not going to waste a Pat Mahomes, year of his prime, or Kelsey when he comes back. Are they going to be players for Mike Evans? Mike Evans' value would go through the roof. He'd go right into wide receiver one territory easy, despite his age. So we're going to have to watch this. And I think Hollywood Brown, same thing, would be a monster wide receiver one in this offense as well. So we got to keep an eye on this. Not saying a trade's going to happen, but it makes sense that it would. All right, so Christian Watson. So he's considered week to week. He's got a hamstring injury. So Romeo Dobbs' value goes up a little bit. If you want to try out Jaden Reed as a flex or in 5 wideout leagues, you could. It's not the easiest start now for Jordan Love with his big play wideout gone. So Christian Watson, who I was not a fan of coming into the season. I told you guys to fade him. I'm not a fan of the up and downs, swings in performance that his kind of profile suggests. So, but obviously you're going to hold on to him and wait for him to come back. Breece Hall on the wire. Is he worth? If Breece Hall's on the wire, absolutely pick him up. I mean, I think Breece Hall is going to be fine by the end of the year. And here's the thing too, I forgot to mention about Jahmyr Gibbs yesterday. The start of the season for the Lions at the running back room with David Montgomery getting the majority of carries over Jahmyr Gibbs, the rookie, reminds me of last year with the Jets, with Michael Carter starting out getting the majority of the carries, or at least a split with Breece Hall, before Breece Hall eventually took over by week 3 or 4. Not saying that Gibbs is going to have that kind of make that much of an inroad on the starting gig, but it is way too early to panic on this guy. And I think Jahmyr Gibbs long-term is going to be awesome. I mean, we saw it. He is explosive as hell. 0 to 60 in a flash. He can catch the football. And this also should give you pause if you're a Bijan Robinson owner, because Tyler Algier is still there, and he's coming off 1,000-yard, a very impressive rookie season. I think he averaged 5 yards per carry. So, and they have Cordell Patterson still there. So I think Bijan Robinson, too, may not see that lion share of touches with those two guys still in the fold, like we saw with Jahmyr Gibbs. He got a lot fewer touches than even I anticipated. So does the Atlanta coaching staff dial it back a little bit initially with Bijan Robinson? That very well could happen. That would not surprise me in the least, which is why I didn't take the plunge on Robinson early in the draft. Listen, Aaron, I agree. I think he was fantastic. It was obvious. I don't like him leading with his head. That was just dumb on his first carry, especially. I thought he was going to go right to the blue tent. But listen, he looks he's as close to a can't miss big play guy as you're going to get, I think, at the running back position. He's that good. But David Montgomery is excellent in pass protection. Anybody who saw that game saw he stood up to the KC pass rush, bought Jared Goff time. He makes good around the goal line. He could catch the ball, although they're not designing any receptions for him. So in PPR leagues, if you're a Montgomery owner, you gotta take that into consideration. But they want him to be that Jamal Williams from last season. That's what's going to happen. Joe Burrow, no issues. T. Higgins, no contract as well. They're not going to trade him though, but he's probably going to move on at the end of the year. And I think that's it for the injury report. So, all right. So those of you guys who love DFS, all right. So there's some interesting DFS plays this week. All right, I wanted to touch on that. First is you have Raheem Mostert. All right, so Raheem Mostert, according to DraftKings right now, is 5,400, which is a really a decent price for a guy who's going to get the bell cow work in a shootout, which that game is going to be. So he looks like a really good value. Tyler Higbee at 4,800 as well. They're going to be trailing in this game. There's going to be a lot of targets, so I think Tyler Higbee is a good buy. Deion Jackson at 4,100. I'm not in love with him, but he's going to get targets and he's going to get carries in that game. Calvin Ridley, 6,500 is not bad, but Christian Kirk is 5,600. So if you want to stack Trevor Lawrence, who's also 6,500, I'd rather stack him with Kirk, save the extra, 1,000 there, and then let Calvin Ridley go. Dalton Schultz is 4,600. That's not a bad price. Cortland Sutton, if Judy misses the game, he's 5,900. How about Juwan Johnson? DraftKings, he's 3,900. So that's a good price as well. Brian Robinson is at 5,100, and the Commanders should be leading in that game in the second half, so they're going to be running the ball a lot. So those are some good prices if you're doing the DFS. So I think you should look at that. The Commanders defense, 2,800. Raiders defense, 2,300. Dalton Schultz, 4,600. These are all good prices. So I think if you're in the DFS, you should definitely take a look at that. All right. Now, I wanted to get the picks out of the way here. Let me pull that, get my lines here. So we went 2-0, 1-0 officially because the Lions plus 4.5 was a lean. So I only count the under as a win. So, all right. A couple of things. When it comes to betting games, especially in the opener, home underdogs are always really good plays. All right. They get pissed off. Teams get pissed off for being a home underdog to start their season. Right out of the gate, they feel they're being disrespected. Right. And so there's a slew of these games. The Patriots home underdog to the Eagles, the Browns against the Bengals, the Giants against the Cowboys, the Colts against the Jags. And one of them I really like more than the others are the Steelers getting 2 at home to the 49ers. Listen, you look at that line and you say, oh my God, the 49ers, they're giving only 2 points. This is a Super Bowl contender. Like they're going to win it all this year. Take the 49ers. Why is this line so low? Bingo. When the line seems suspiciously low, that means you take the underdog because the lines makers are begging you to take the favorite. They have an idea that the underdog has a really good chance to win. And if you look at the Steelers, they play well all preseason, including Kenny Pickett. Mike Tomlin has an excellent record in openers, especially as a home underdog, in general as a home underdog. So I'm liking the Steelers getting 2 points from the 49ers. I'm taking the Steelers. That's going to be one of my picks. Calvin Ridley projections. Listen, they're going to be going nuts. The only problem is that the Jags might be up so big in this game that they run it in the second half. But I do like Calvin Ridley to be in the 6 to 8 catch neighborhood, closing in on 100 yards and a touchdown. He's going to have a huge first game. All right. Looking at the rest of these games here. So the Miami Dolphins are getting 3 at home against the Chargers. I can't stand the coaching staff for the Chargers. I think the Dolphins are a live underdog here. This is a good offensive team. The over-under is 51. Give me the Dolphins plus 3. I like the Dolphins in this one, plus 3. They're used to the heat. It's going to be hot for this game. Give me the Dolphins plus 3. I gave you my survivor pick of the Ravens over the Texans. You want to be – I know a lot of people are taking the Commanders, but – you never know with the, Commanders are not a sure thing. So you got to be careful with that one. All right. So Minnesota giving 5.5 to Tampa Bay. I think this Vikings team is overrated. I really do. They gave up more points than they scored last year. And they got fortunate to make the playoffs. And then the Giants beat them. All right. I think 5.5 is a lot of points to be given to the Buccaneers. I know Baker Mayfield sucks. We all know that, but the defense is still good. They still have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans to help. Rachaad White, let's see what he does this year. I do think that that's too many points for the Vikings, who played a lot of close games last year. I like the Buccaneers plus 5.5. So what is that? 3 games that I just picked? So I need one more, right? Because I like to do 5 a week. Any over-unders here that stick out to me? I don't see any. All right, so Seattle giving 4.5 to the Rams. The Rams are terrible. I have to give the points there, 4.5. I think the Seahawks, they have Jackson Smith and Jigba for this game. So I'm going to go Seattle as well. So the picks, already gave you the Thursday night one. The picks for this week. I gave you Tampa Bay plus 5.5, Steelers plus 2. So Tampa Bay plus 5.5 over Minnesota, Pittsburgh plus 2 over San Francisco. I have the Seattle Seahawks giving 4.5 to the Los Angeles Rams, and the Miami Dolphins getting 3 against the Chargers. All right, so that's how I look at those games there. All right. Now, as far as start sit this week, so Cowboys, Giants, you're pretty much starting everybody. Now, the borderline guys, you're not starting Michael Gallup. Jake Ferguson, if you or if you need Daniel Bellinger, if Darren Waller's not there, I guess you can give them a ride. But I wouldn't start either. I wouldn't start Ferguson yet. That's for sure. I want to see how things shake out there. In the offense. For the Giants, obviously playing Darren Waller, playing Saquon Barkley if Waller plays. Isaiah Hodgins, I think Hodgins is a good, and there's another DFS guy, Isaiah. I think you start Isaiah Hodgins, and that's about it for that game. Now, the Falcons-Panthers, I think this game is going to be higher scoring than that. The over of the 40 looks like a good bet. I should have picked that one, but I think Drake London's going to have a huge game. I really do. His advanced numbers were glowing last year. He's got all the talent in the world. We just got to get Desmond Ridder to get him the football on time. So you're starting Drake London, you're starting Kyle Pitts, you're starting Bijan Robinson, even though I still think that he may not get as many touches as you anticipate. For the Panthers, if you're in a deeper league, you can start Adam Thielen. He is banged up. Miles Sanders, you're going to start, although there was talk there too that Chuba Hubbard's going to get more work than initially thought. They're trying to preserve Sanders, who's been banged up in his career. All right, Ravens, Texans, you're starting Dameon Pierce. That's it. For the Ravens, you're going to go Mark Andrews, obviously Lamar Jackson. Odell, I think you could put Odell out there as your flex. Wide receiver 3 might be pushing it a little bit. I'm not playing Bateman yet. You're playing J.K. Dobbins for sure. They should be up in the second half. All right, Bengals, Browns. I think, any Bengal other than Tyler Boyd and Irv Smith, I think you're starting. Obviously, Chase and Higgins and Burrow and Joe Mixon. The Browns, Deshaun Watson. I think if you're a Watson owner and he's your starter, yes, you play him there. I think this will be, it's the 47.5 is the over-under. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. You're playing Amari Cooper. You're playing David Njoku. You're playing Nick Chubb. All right. Elijah Moore, wait and see. In a deeper league, yes. If not, I would bench him. Jaguars, Colts. I'm not playing Anthony Richardson. I'm not playing any Indianapolis. I'm not playing Michael Pittman. I'm not playing anybody. Excuse me. But I am obviously starting Kirk, ETN, Ridley, Engram, and Lawrence. Vikings, Buccaneers, reluctantly, you got to go Mike Evans and Godwin if you're owners, although I think Godwin's going to have a better season than even I anticipate, just because there's going to be a lot of short passes and they're going to be trailing a lot in these games. You're starting Rachaad White. You're going to go Jefferson. You're going to start Jordan Addison. I think you start Jordan Addison, see how that goes. And then obviously Alexander Madison, you're going to start as well. Saints, Titans, yes, Hopkins, yes, Henry, no Tannehill. No Treylon Burks. For the Saints, Jamal Williams, he's the only act in town right now with Kendrick Miller hurt and Alvin Kamara out, suspended. Yes, you start Michael Thomas. I think he's a good flex play this week. Derek Carr, if you're in a super flex, yes. 49ers, Steelers, you're not going to go Kenny Pickett. Deontay Johnson, you'll start. I don't think you're going to I wouldn't start George Pickens. Pat Freiermuth, you'll start. Najee Harris, you'll start. And then 49ers, You're going to go, obviously, Debo, Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Kittle if he plays. All right, Commanders, Cardinals. So if you're in a super flex league, yes, I would go with Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell is going to be decent. Brian Robinson, they should be leading in the second half. He's going to get probably upwards of 20 carries. Antonio Gibson may not have the game we envision because, again, they should be leading. They may not need to throw it much. So he's a borderline guy for me. And the Arizona Cardinals, you're not starting anybody other than James Conner. And he's going to face probably all 11 guys in the box. Bears, Packers, Romeo Doubs, he seems to be the only act in town. You're not going to start Musgrave yet. For the Bears, obviously DJ Moore. You can start Khalil Herbert and then Justin Fields, of course. Eagles, all the Eagles, the name Eagles. Yes, you're starting them. The running back situation, Gainwell or Penny. I wouldn't start either one of those guys. I want to see how this develops. You can put DeAndre Swift out there as a flex only. But not the Penny and Gainwell, no. For the Patriots, Stevenson, obviously, if he plays, Juju Smith-Schuster, you got to throw to somebody, I guess, but he'll be a flex play at best for me. Broncos, Raiders, all hands on deck for the Raiders other than Jimmy Garoppolo. For the Broncos, you're going to start Sutton, even though I'm not a fan. Marvin Mims, if Judy doesn't go, maybe you could try him out as a flex only, borderline flex. Chargers, Dolphins, everybody plays in these games. You start everybody, the running backs, the receivers, and the quarterbacks. I love Justin Herbert. I think Tua is going to have a big year when he's on the field. Seahawks, Rams, Kenneth Walker, you're going to start. Charbonnet is just your handcuff. Rams, you're starting Tyler Higbee. You're definitely starting Tyler Higbee. Cam Akers, I think he's a flex. He's not a running back too. For the Seahawks, you're going to start everybody. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I would not start because I think he'll be on a snap count. And then Bills, Jets, everybody. You're going pretty much everybody except for Breece Hall. I wouldn't start Breece Hall because I think he's only going to get 8 to 10 touches. He didn't practice yesterday. They're going to be very deliberate with him. You're going to start Dalvin Cook as your running back too, or a flex. And for the Bills, yes, you're going to start Dalton Kincaid. Stephon Diggs, still not happy with Josh Allen, but I would put him in there. Obviously, he's Gabe Davis, borderline. He's just a flex only to me because the Jets secondary is really tough. James Cook, it's going to be a tough day, but I think you're committed to him because you paid a high draft cost for James Cook, so I think you got to throw him in there. So that's the look at the schedule. So sorry guys for the rushed stream today. Like I said, been very busy. Got a lot going on this weekend. I will be on tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern time to go over the injury report and also discuss whatever else you guys want to discuss. And then tomorrow, instant injury analysis videos. Who's going down tomorrow? Some name guys going down tomorrow, and I'll be there to discuss it. And then I'm going to wrap it all up at the end of the day. So tune in for that. Hit that subscribe button. I will chat with all of you a little bit later. Have a great day.